I have to say at the outset that most blues harmonica players don't tend to play tunes. We tend to play fills, which are phrases between singers' lines. It might be in a situation like this. Singing blah blah blah. So that kind of thing. We also do breaks, solos in the middle of songs. Something like perhaps. We can also vamp, which is pretty much equivalent to strumming a guitar. And we can play background chords, fulfilling much of the role that an organ would in a group. Something like. So all those things, but not so much tunes as such. Having said that, we can play tunes. Now, if you can do overbends, you can have access to every note of the 12-tone scale, and that enables you to play any tune on any diatonic harmonica. But even without being able to do overbends, providing you can bend all the draw reeds up to hole 6, then you can play those tunes that are fairly close to the blues scale. Case in point, the signature tune for this video, Blue Moon. So let's see what's involved in playing that, pretty much as it sounds at the start of this video. So what's the first step in learning how to play the tune? Well, the first thing we must do is to find the keynote. Now, many people can just intuitively hum the keynote as the tune is playing, but if you can't do this, the easy way is just to go to the end of a verse, and the chances are that the last note of the verse is likely to be the keynote. It's coming up now, so there it is, and we find it on the keyboard. There it is there, it's the F. So what if you don't have a keyboard? Well, you can find it on a guitar, if you know the notes on a guitar. Failing that, we'll come back to that situation in just a moment. Let's say, for the sake of argument though, we have got the key now and we see it is an F. What harmonica do we need for that? Well, in fact, we need a B flat harmonica, which is there. And the reason is that a harmonica played cross-key style plays in the key a fifth above that inscribed on the instrument. So if you go from B flat up to F, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, So is the fifth, you find that F is a fifth above B flat, F is the key of the tune, B flat is the harmonica that you need. So just dealing with that other problem, if you don't have a guitar or a keyboard, all you can do is go through all your harmonicas, blowing on the third hole, and that's the keynote played cross key. Find out which harmonica corresponds to this particular keynote. So we have our key and we have the correct harmonica. Where do we go from there? Actually, that's half the battle, finding the correct harp for the job. Now that we've got that, we can look at the tune itself, and it really is just a matter of trial and error and common sense. Let's look at the first note. Okay, let's find that note. There it is there. And it's off the fourth hole draw, which corresponds to an interval of the fifth. Right away we can see why the melody starts off in a bluesy fashion, because we go, so we pass through that flattened fifth for a moment, which is one of the blue notes. Okay, now we're going to treat the melody in a modal way, which means that we're going to look at each note in the context of all the notes that make up the tune, and not in terms of the chords which give rise to those melody notes. That's the job of the keyboard player or the guitarist to worry about chords. We're just interested in the melody itself. So we've got the first note there. Let's look at the rest of the phrase now. Okay, so we need to be able to have a method of describing these notes, and from the motor point of view, the way we do this is to think of each successive note in terms of the interval it makes with the tonic or keynote. So we've already said that the first note is the fifth. Now the whole phrase is now the other two notes that are involved there are the fourth and the sixth, and they're just the blow reeds on either side of that fourth hole draw. Part of the deal in playing blues is that it's an intuitive kind of music. We don't use tabs, we don't use marks on paper. It's just improvisation is an integral part of this kind of music, and so you should try and play by ear. Just figure it out for yourself. It's not hard. What happens is that it starts on the fifth, goes either side, comes back to the fifth. It's a very strong phrase really, because you can think of the fifth as the second strongest note of the scale. This particular melody begins on the fifth, plays around either side, comes back and rests on the fifth. So a very strong phrase. See if you can figure it out for yourself. There it is again. And once you've got that off, we'll go on to the next phrase. Now you immediately notice that this phrase is very similar to the first phrase. This is why the tune is so strong, because immediately we hear this phrase, we relate it to the previous phrase, which is actually a third above it, and it appeals to our aesthetic sense. The symmetry and balance of it all. So it's roughly the same as the first phrase, a third below, so it's based now on the third rather than the fifth, and the other two notes on either side are the second and the fourth. Now to get the second, we have to bend down from the third. So there's the tonic. If you draw in on that note, you get the third. And then if you flatten that down, you get the second. So what we have for the phrase is so you can figure what I'm doing there. Essentially I'm using bends on the third there, those two notes, and then of course the blow note for the fourth, and of course the second, and back to the third again. So that's that phrase sussed, if you can work it out, and then we'll go on to the next phrase. Hey, unfortunately we've run out of time, so we'll have to do the last phrase of the head in part 2, along with the bridge. And also in part 2 I'll let Rocky and Bert play the backing without any input from me, so you can practice over that. But even from part 1 I hope you've now got a taste of what blues harmonica can do beyond fills, breaks and basic chords, with just the ability to play single notes and the ability to do cymbal bends off the first 6 holes on the draw reeds. So take a look at the table, and we'll go that a little bit further in part 2.